very good evening to you. Welcome to CoreTV Primetime News, broadcasting live from our Lagos studio. My name is Sarah Ayuku. Here are our top stories for tonight. Now the news in full. President Muhammadu Buhari has reaffirmed the commitment of his administration to the principles of separation of powers. President Buhari states this at a dinner organized in honor of National Assembly members and leadership of the All Progressive Congress. The event was part of activities marking the first of President Buhari in office. Our State House correspondent Abiola Oluwole tells us more.
Speaking at the dinner, President Buhari appreciated the support of the National Assembly in the last 1 year. He thereafter urged the legislature to speed up the passage of the money laundering bill and other executive bills before it.
For mutual legal assistance, criminal justice bill 2016, and lastly, statutory budget of the Niger Delta Development Commission.
For his part, President of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, assured President Buhari of consistent interaction that will engender the needed collaboration between the legislature and the executive for the development of the country.
I use this opportunity to say on behalf of our colleagues that we will continue to request to have more and more of these kind of interactions.
The event later went into a closed-door interactive session from the presidential villa in Abuja. Abiola Oluwole reporting for CoreTV News.
And President Muhammadu Buhari will make his first visit as president to Nigeria's oil-producing south, which has been driven by an upsurge in violence from militants. The president will travel to Ogoniland in Rivers State to flag off a long-awaited cleanup of the area, which has been affected by oil spills. Attacks on pipelines and other infrastructure have cut Nigeria's oil production to some 1.4 million barrels per day. The president will be in Ogoniland on Thursday for the historic cleanup of the area. And as President Muhammadu Buhari's administration clocks 1 year, various performance ratings have been rolled out. But in Lagos, representative of the Presidential Anti-Corruption Committee and journalists take a review at the government's activities in the last 365 days. While the government accuses the press of underreporting the good side of governance, pressmen also advise the government to be more transparent in its dealings with Nigerians. Our correspondent Akion Bakeye tells us more.
1 year after the Buhari-led administration, the fight against corruption stands as one of the major campaign promises that swept Muhammadu Buhari to power. The Anti-Corruption Advisory Committee serves as a window to the level of transparency of the government. In a forum tagged The State of Transparency and Accountability in Nigeria, organized by the International Press Center, government representatives commend efforts of journalists in the anti-graft crusade, but says milestones achieved by the government against corruption are rather underreported.
Stories and the publication of government anti-corruption efforts. Notwithstanding these wins, there's quite a lot more to do. At this point where we are as a nation, we need the media to ceaselessly disseminate information about the developmental costs and evils of corruption in our country.
Speakers from various media, however, asked the government to be more transparent and generous with information which should ordinarily be made available to the public through the Freedom of Information Act.
There are responsibilities on both sides. We still expect a lot of proactive disclosure of information on the part of government in terms of what exactly they are doing, the recovery process, what exactly has been recovered, and so on and so forth.
While the government seeks positive media patronage, Nigerians also believe that the government should be proactive in the dissemination of vital information to the populace. Akion Bakeye, CoreTV News, Lagos.
Meanwhile, Vice President of Nigeria, Yemi Osinbajo, will lead discussion on ways to realize full potential of Nigeria's economy through better legislation for the country's capital market on June 6. Expected at the two-day forum are Senate President Bukola Saraki and the House of Representatives Speaker Yakubu Dogara, Dangote Group President Aliko Dangote, Ministers of Finance, Budget and National Planning, and other financial experts. The aim of the forum, according to the program released in Abuja, is to intimate stakeholders of the 10-year capital market, the master plan of 2015 to 2025. The master plan is expected to aid legislators to amend areas in existing legislation that could limit or undermine the growth of the capital market and its contributions to the economy. At the end of the forum, participants are expected to make recommendations to the federal government on diversification of funding sources and ensuring transparency and accountability in financial transactions. Minister for Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, says Nigeria is beginning to reap the benefits of privatizing the power sector. Receiving questions from members of the Senate committees on labor, employment, productivity and power, Fashola says some foreign investors are putting in about $9 million yearly to enhance distribution of electricity in the country. The nation's electricity regulator, NERC, at the public hearing says that there will be no going back on the new electricity tariffs.
So that confirms what you have said.
The two-day public hearing, which began Tuesday, has in attendance representatives of the Trade Union Congress, the Central Bank, and the Ministry of Power. The Minister for Power, in response to questions about tariffs, says his ministry is not responsible for fixing tariffs.
Some statements have been made here that, oh, they, this, that. But the factual records are that we have been here for only 1 year at the most. So this privatization was done before we came here. These decisions were taken before many of us came here.
The committee members were insistent on finding out why many parts of the country were experiencing power shortages, even with the huge amounts collected as tariffs from customers.
Why should power sector companies make their customers bear the burden of their, of operational inefficiency of operators?
The AT&TC loss study, which NEC talked about, who conduct this study? Is it the DISCO or the government?
As at end of April this year, using the new tariff, how much has been added to the total collection? What percentage improvement have the DISCOs made?
One of the complaints was that, look, how can we invest in meters if we can't recover because of the tariff you have set?
Quizzed on whether the regulatory agency has been sanctioning defaulting electricity companies for not metering consumers and other public complaints, the NEC boss says sanctions are predicated on a cost-effective tariff system to the companies.
Now, the tariffs have been increased for over 4 or 5 months now. What difference are we getting between the time the tariff was increased and now?
February 1, when the new tariff came on board, we have demanded to the some companies to give us clear evidence of the meters they've installed, names, phone number, and addresses so that we can verify.
The public hearing continues Wednesday with managers of electricity companies expected to be in attendance for questioning. Jamila Fegwa, CoreTV News, Abuja.
You don't have to answer today, but I want...
In another development, the House of Representatives is set to adopt the electronic voting system in the conduct of its activities in compliance with its legislative agenda. According to a statement by a special advisor to the Speaker, Turaki Azan, forms have been already distributed to the members for data collation ahead of production of the e-voting cards. The e-voting system, which will be supported by internet and intranet access, Nigerians will be able to access the voting patterns of all 360 members of the House. Other initiatives that will be introduced include the establishment and equipping of a parliamentary information center where information and documents of the National Assembly will be made available. We'll take a break and return with more stories, to stay with us.
VAT, Value Added Tax, is a tax paid on all goods and services and remitted by the seller of the goods or provider of the service to government. 5% VAT is added to the total cost of goods and services in Nigeria, and when remitted to government, is used for funding development. The VAT you pay will be used by government to develop our transport infrastructure, like roads and railway lines, to continually improve our educational sector by building more schools and upgrading existing ones, to provide adequate security and a better quality of life for us all. Pay your VAT. Make your contributions to the development of Nigeria. It pays to pay your tax. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Welcome back. You're watching CoreTV Primetime News, broadcasting live from our Lagos studio. Here is a reminder of our top stories for tonight. And you can get the stories and more on our social media platforms. It's facebook.com/CoreTV News. You can also follow at our Twitter handle at CoreTV News NG. You can also watch our videos on our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/CoreTV. There is space, then news. The Taraba State House of Assembly says the bill on internally generated revenue has boosted the state economy by a capacity of 400%. The legislators disclosed this while having an interface with pressmen on activities during the past legislative year. We'll bring you details of that in our subsequent bulletins. And the annual Teens Global Foundation meeting, which promotes Nigeria's culture and inculcates the knowledge of Nigeria's traditional values to its future leaders, has held with participants urging the youth to imbibe the culture of peace and patriotism. Anita Patrick reports that it was a gathering of school children who all say they have been better enlightened. Okay, we'll bring you details of that in our subsequent bulletin. And legal luminaries under the umbrella of Nigeria Bar Association are insisting that if the current campaign against corruption in the country must succeed, there must be effective, independent anti-corruption agencies and the judiciary. The legal practitioners made this view known at the NBA State of the Nation conference in Abuja. Our judiciary correspondent Basil Okafor was there and brings us this report.
The State of the Nation conference, organized by the Nigerian Bar Association, attracted legal practitioners from different parts of the country, with the aim of reviewing the state of the nation's democracy under President Muhammadu Buhari's one-year-old administration. Members of the Bar Association commended the president's position against corruption. They are, however, insisting that the campaign against corrupt practices, both in public and private sector, must be conducted in line with the constitution of the nation.
But the point is that people are also saying that he must also obey the rules of the game, the rules of law. If somebody has been granted bail, he must be allowed to go. If somebody has not been granted bail, of course, there is nothing the president can do about it. But the president himself cannot in any way interfere directly with judiciary.
In support of the present administration's effort to rid the country of the societal menace, other speakers at the conference believe that corrupt individuals who are being prosecuted oftentimes allege witch hunt against them in order to attract public sympathy. Other issues that attracted the attention of the lawyers are the increasing security challenges in the South-South and Southeast geopolitical zones, as they call for the strengthening of the security agencies to address the current challenges. The lawyers also expressed displeasure over the increasing rate of overcrowding in Nigerian prisons, which according to them is hitting over 70%.
One of the main reasons for the inability of the courts to process offenders quickly is due to the limited transportation infrastructure of the Nigerian Prison Service.
For these legal practitioners, the effort of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration aimed at ridding the country of corrupt tendencies need the support of the citizenry. Basil Okafor, CoreTV News, Abuja.
And Baboko Market in Ilorin are lamenting the loss of property worth millions of naira engulfed by inferno. The fire, which started around 2 o'clock in the morning, affected nearly 100 shops, making it the fourth time in 5 months this is experienced. This year's the report.
Baboko Market is one of the biggest and largest in Ilorin West local government, as it houses sellers of household utensils. Shop owners in the market were thrown into another modern mood as a section of the market went into flames, which is the fourth in 5 months. They call on the state government to provide a mobile service station in the market, while also calling for a total reconstruction to a modern market.
One happening the other side. The other one is this, more than 5 times now it have been happening under this year. So it's getting too much. Most of us are credit, we are buying credit, we borrow money from bank, we borrow loan to do this business.
If I may say, at least about 100 shops is affected for this burning incident. Now people were saying that it's fault of electricity. But I believe over 2 months here in this Ojatutu, nothing like NEPA light.
Meanwhile, the state governor assures the people affected that a committee will be set up on how to bring a lasting solution to the constant fire.
It tells us that we need to look at what the remote and immediate causes are and put lasting solutions there. So as a government, we've put up a small committee involving the council chairman and the market association leadership.
It's expected that those affected will receive succor in due time.
We'll take a break now and return with more stories. Do stay with us.
With over 7 billion of world population and still counting, the world needs to hear you now than ever. Whatever your ministry or vision is, Gospel Africa will help get you there faster than you think possible. For inquiries and participation, contact 009 503 3859 or 0812-076-0011 or visit www.gospelafricang.com. Gospel Africa, your #1 media solutions for the church today. Gospel Africa, showing on this station at this time. CoreTV News now live on all Androids.
Welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
Download CoreTV News app from your Play Store. Click on the menu to see all our top stories, from politics, sports, business, foreign news and live TV to watch us live on your mobile.
I want to know why I should be believing them.
You can also click on video to see all our YouTube videos. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
You know, Angela, that's a very difficult question.
It is difficult to respond to that question.
Angela, that's a great question.
Great question, Angela.
Angela, that is a very great question.
That's a great question, Angela.
Okay, that's a great question.
Yeah, very good question.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
That's an interesting question.
This is an interesting question you pose.
60 Minutes with Angela. Again, answers to every question you always wanted to ask.
And welcome back. Taraba State House of Assembly says that the bill on internally generated revenue has boosted the state's economy by a capacity of 400%. The legislators disclosed this while having an interface with pressmen on activities during the past legislative year. Our correspondent, Udwa Godwin, tells us more.
The Taraba State House of Assembly, according to the legislators, has recorded some landmark achievements in the last legislative year. They also say each constituency of the state has had good and competent representation in the last legislative year, adding that the internally generated revenue bill has also raised the state's economy and government's revenue profile by as much as 400%.
The Constitution is also found, the Constitution found
and people grouping themselves either in the name of tribe or in the name of political party to unleash mayhem on any other tribe.
The legislator expressed the belief that the cordial working relationship between the executive and the legislature will continue.
We want to make Taraba State, like I've said, a peaceful haven for all, not minding where you are coming from, provided you are coming into Taraba State to do genuine business. And the slogan of this government is, give me peace and I give you development.
As the House resumes sitting on the 13th of June to begin another legislative year, the expectation of the people is that the House will be better positioned to sponsor more bills for the development of the state. Udwa Godwin, CoreTV News, Jalingo.
And former government officials and other former high-ranking politicians in possession of diplomatic passports have been urged to return them or face the full wrath of the law. New Controller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service, Mohammed Babandede, in his maiden press briefing, also read out the Riot Act to officers and men of the Immigration Service involved in the corrupt practices to desist or face the consequences. Our correspondent Kozim Kasali tells us more.
The new Controller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service, Mohammed Babandede, in his maiden press interaction since his confirmation, is laying down the gauntlet to former officials of government and retired public servants still in possession of diplomatic passport to return them or face the consequences of their non-compliance. According to the immigration boss, the decision is in line with the earlier publication by the service directing the affected persons to return the passport, adding that they no longer have the right to carry those passports.
If you are a retired minister, if you are a retired commissioner, if you are a retired director, if you don't bring this your passport, we will charge you under Section 10 of the Immigration Act 2015 because you are in possession of an unauthorized document.
The NIS boss also discloses the readiness of the service to continue to reform its rank to ensure it achieves its mandate. He also expresses his belief in the abilities of officers and men of the Immigration Service, but added that it will not be business as usual. Kozim Kasali, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The movement for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra is demanding the release of corpses of its members as well as other pro-Biafra activists who were killed in a clash with security agencies on Monday. The pro-Biafra agitators were killed in the course of rallies held to mark the 50th anniversary of the defunct Biafra Republic. The group also demanded the unconditional release of pro-Biafra agitators that were arrested by the police during the event, which held in various cities in the southeast and south-south. And the Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arase, has ordered senior officers in the southeast and the south-south geopolitical zones to immediately disarm members of the indigenous people of Biafra. This was revealed in a statement by the force public relations officer, Olabisi Kolawole, while reacting to the killing of policemen by some pro-Biafran activists on Monday. The IGP notes that the targeted attacks on police personnel who have been performing their statutory functions in the most professional and civil manner since the latest resurgence of disorder portrays the IPOB activists who are orchestrating the insurrection as having crossed the threshold in their misguided attempt to test the common will of the nation. Harase, who condemns the killing by members of IPOB, orders the arrest and trial of members of the group found in possession of firearm. The IGP also says IPOB activists arrested in connection with the killing of the policemen should be charged to court for murder. He also adds that the police will continue to diligently maintain law and order and ensure their safety. And civil servants in Ondo State have decided to embark on an indefinite strike beginning on Wednesday, following the inability of the state government to pay their salaries for 5 months. The leadership of the organized labor in the state are currently holding a meeting over the plan. Meanwhile, workers in the state have been directed to stay at home and hospitals are to be shut down. And as academic activities continue in Taraba State, the action, according to the union, is taken to press home the demands of the teachers for a better working condition in the state. And Kwara State University will be graduating 23 students with first-class degrees during its 4th convocation ceremony on Saturday. The total number of students scheduled for the ceremony is 1,099 students. The Vice Chancellor of the institution, Abdul Nahala, speaking at a pre-convocation press conference in Malete, says the high number of first-class graduates is due to the high quality of education rendered at the institution. And moving on now, the annual Teen Global Foundation's meeting, which promotes Nigeria's culture and inculcates the knowledge of Nigeria's traditional values to its future leaders, has held with participants urging the youth to imbibe the culture of peace and patriotism. Anita Patrick reports that it was a gathering of school children who all say they have been better enlightened.
The Director of Voter Education and Deputy Director Civil Society Organization and Liaison disclosed that the Independent National Electoral Commission, in its goal for peaceful elections, is collaborating with non-governmental organizations on voter education to enlighten the teens and future leaders to make Nigeria a great nation.
As part of our aim to achieve our strategic goals of educating and enlightening Nigerians, we know that we cannot do it alone, so we must partner with CSOs, non-governmental organizations, and partner with other stakeholders.
Our youth should be educated. They should know what their country is all about. They should be involved in civic education, and catching them young is just it.
The founder and partners of Teens Global Foundation, however, say there is need to imbibe in the teens the traditional education, as the Nigerian culture is that of peace, which is why children need to understand the diversity in cultures.
The issues of violence, the violence acts taking place, and we just see that there's a need to begin to expose those young people to culture of peace, for them to know that peace is not just an abstract thing, but it should actually be a way of life. It should be something they should do.
Before the introduction of the modern education, we have what we call traditional education. We have a way of bringing up our young ones. And in traditional education, what do we teach children?
Some of the participants, who are also in their native attires, speak on how knowing their culture will help them in living peacefully with other Nigerians despite the diversity in culture.
The culture really makes me to be proud, as in it makes me to be like a human being, because without culture we cannot live. And as they said, culture is the way of life, is the way of people.
I learned a lot of things about cultural diversity, unity, and I found out that Nigeria is such a great country, blessed with different kind of things. So,
you know, the culture, the value of culture starts from here. You know, I surely like the program, and inshallah, I hope I will be here once again.
The events, which include cultural context, arts, INEC voters education quiz, dance display, and indigenous spelling bee, came to an end with certificates and gifts to the outstanding teens in the various segments. Anita Patrick, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The Federal Road Safety Corps, the FRSC, is urging Nigerians, especially vehicle owners, to regularly check the tires, as this helps save lives. FRSC, at its awareness campaign against the use of worn-out used tires, also reiterates the importance of using good tires, a habit they say reduces road crashes on Nigerian roads. Our correspondent Victoria Solomon tells us more.
Most car accidents on Nigerian roads are caused by overspeeding, carelessness, ignorance, and not carrying out checks regularly on vehicles. At its awareness campaign against the use of worn-out used tires, the Federal Road Safety Corps warned vehicle owners to check car tires daily.
To acquire new tires will obviously save your life and the life of your family, as well as other road users, as we prevent this grave economic loss, including fueling that are come to take.
He also stresses the penalty for any motorist found using substandard tires.
Once you are apprehended, you'll be mandated to change that bad tires before the vehicle will be released back to you. But it doesn't make sense to go and pay. I'm not looking for the fines. What I'm looking for, the safety aspect of it.
The awareness program equally affords a presentation of good tire maintenance culture by an expert.
What we're trying to do is to sensitize people on how to take care of the tire and what to do when they want to buy a tire. First of all, you make sure check the expiring date, the manufacturing date. If you check the manufacturing date, it will tell you if you're going to buy that tire or not.
FRSC Lagos State Sector Commander seeks the cooperation of Nigerians to help the Corps reduce crashes on the roads.
People should henceforth start having personal gauge in their vehicle. I want to use this medium to appeal to Nigerians. Please join hands with FRSC. Let us change the tide by changing your attitude to the use of the tire.
In his response, representative of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, NURTW, registers the support of his group for the awareness campaign while calling on his colleagues to comply totally.
We appreciate the campaign. It's a very good idea. This campaign really motivates us to limit our speed on the way and also checkmate our tires whenever we are on the road so that not to overinflate the tires.
With no need to wait for the ember months, it is safe for all vehicle owners to adopt the mantra, a check in time saves lives. Victoria Solomon, CoreTV News, Lagos.
And the approach to sensitize the Nigerians on the menace of insurgents and terrorism must change, but the nation to continue to make strides in bringing it to an end. The National Orientation Agency will, according to its Director General, take the lead in doing this and also galvanize people to support government and put their thrust in leaders at all levels to move the nation forward. Our correspondent Kozim Kasali tells us more.
Members of the White Brigade welcoming the new Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Garba Abari, on his first day in office. With the formality of the welcoming by members of staff of the National Orientation out of the way, the Acting Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Ngozi Ekioba, handed over to the new substantive DG of the agency. She expresses her delight at the cooperation by members of staff, asking them to also extend the same cooperation to the new DG.
The 2016 budgets programs for 2016, unfortunately or fortunately, none of them has been implemented because we all know that the budgets, they just passed budget and no fund has been released to that effect.
In his response, the new DG Garba Abari disclosed that the agency will be scaling up efforts aimed at sensitizing Nigerians to the menace of terrorism and insecurity.
I don't want to believe that there is any disconnect. But like I have said, the issue of security and terrorism is something that requires a new position that needs to be addressed.
He added that the agency will soon come up with strategies to ensure that Nigerians and the federal government pull in the same direction, just as a lot of fundamental issues are being addressed to move the nation forward.
It is absolutely necessary that the public are fully enlightened about these changes. This, I believe, is what will make the people rally around the government in its efforts to confront the challenges.
The new DG is assuming office a few days after he was announced as the substantive DG to replace Michael Mary, who was disengaged on the 16th of February. Kozim Kasali, CoreTV News, Abuja.
And as part of efforts aimed at realizing the goal of universal access to safe drinking water, the federal government says managing water requires appropriate procedures in moving water from government to members of the society. Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Water Resources, Rabi Jimeta, made this known at the 23rd regular meeting of the National Council on Water Resources in Abuja. She says policy regulations and viable institutions will be put in place to support the management of water resources. Kikelomo Okere completes this story.
Shortage of water and lack of access to potable water kill over 12 million people worldwide annually. Millions are in bad health and trapped in poverty as much of their energy and time are wasted in the quest for clean water. According to the Permanent Secretary, Water Resources, access to drinking water, sanitation and hygiene is critical for survival, development and well-being. While adding that there is need for adequate funded infrastructure projects to protect water resources and ensure sustainable development.
One, manpower development and funding of water sector.
2, integrated water resources management. 3, dams, reservoirs, and hydropower development. 4, hydrology, climate change, and flood management.
Permanent Secretary, Federal Capital Territory Administration and the Chairman, House Committee on Water Resources, however, believe that without adequate potable water, there can be no escape from poverty, adding that water is the basis for good health and food production.
We must recognize the true dimension of the challenge we face. The challenge of ensuring sustainable water demand and use and supply of water to all. In essence, appropriate water management is required to meet this challenge.
It shows the primary importance of water in our lives as individuals, as heads in our various communities, as heads of the various agencies.
Water and environmental sanitation work has greater impact and is more sustainable if it is integrated into health, education, and livelihood sector. Kikelomo Okeri, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, experts are emphasizing on communication in marriage as an essential of a happy family, identifying lack of understanding as one main reason for broken homes. Speakers at the commemoration of the United Nations International Day of the Family with the theme Family, Healthy Lives and Sustainable Future also advised on ways to restore family values through proper communication model. Our correspondent Akin Obakeye tells us more.
The African culture plays a huge role in marriages. Time seems different now, however, but most marriages in Africa have been hit with several setbacks, a trend experts trace to lack of communication within the family, which is fast resulting in a decline in family values.
They hide many things from one another. There are so many closets in cupboards between husband and wife, between boyfriend, girlfriend. And some of these things, it is several years into marriage that they begin to show.
The remedy to these marital challenges are not too far off, they say.
Couples need to communicate. They need to be able to explain things clearly to each other, the man and his wife, about what is happening and why, the reasons for some decisions being taken.
Speakers also leave words of advice to single men and women as well as young couples.
Marriage is actually not for infants, but that does not mean that you must get to the age of Methuselah before you get married. What it connotes is that you must be emotionally matured, psychologically matured, which you can do at the age of 20.
Don't even just look at things that two of you love together. Two of us like to watch film together. We like to go for this together. Also think about and concentrate on things that two of you do not love together.
Recent rise in cases of domestic violence leaves the society with a huge responsibility of seeking means to more peaceful family lives. It is hoped that the prescription at this year's United Nations International Day of the Family will go a long way to achieve better marriages. Akin Obakeye, CoreTV News, Lagos.
And CoreTV Primetime News will be back after this break with stories from outside Nigeria and in the world of sports. Just stay with us.
You know, Angela, that's a very difficult question.
It is difficult to respond to that question.
Angela, that's a great question.
Great question, Angela.
Angela, that is a very great question. That's a great question, Angela.
Okay, that's a great question.
Yeah, very good question.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
That's an interesting question.
This is an interesting question you pose.
60 Minutes with Angela. Again, answers to every question you always wanted to ask.
And on the foreign scene, 17 Indian soldiers have been killed in a massive fire at a military ammunition depot in western Maharashtra state. The fire in the depot at Polganon near Nagpur triggered a number of explosions, leading to the evacuation of people from neighboring villages. Firefighters are trying to put out the blaze, in which at least 19 people have also been injured. The dead also include 2 army officers. The cause of the fire, which broke out in the early hours of today, spread quickly through the depot and is still unknown. Meanwhile, about 1,000 villages have been evacuated as shells and splinters ripped through the area. And at least 23 people have been killed by airstrikes on the rebel-held city of Idlib in northwestern Syria. Reports indicate Russian aircraft targeted various positions overnight, but Russia has denied carrying out operations over the city. Idlib city and the province of the same are a bastion of groups including the Al-Qaeda-linked Nusra Front. The Nusra Front is excluded from a partial cessation of hostilities brokered by the U.S. and Russia in February to make way for a resumption of peace talks. The attacks hit several residential areas, a hospital, and the public garden with casualties, including 7 children. And 3 people convicted of murder have been executed in the Gaza Strip in a move condemned by the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. Officials from Gaza de facto rulers, the Islamist Hamas movement, says the men were shot or hanged on Tuesday after appeals were exhausted. Hamas did not seek the approval of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas as required under Palestinian law. The act underscores the continuing divisions between the main Palestinian factions. Hamas and President Abbas' Fatah party signed the unity deal in 2014 designed to end a 7-year split, which saw the West Bank and the Gaza Strip governed by rival administrations. However, the agreement has never been properly implemented, leaving Hamas still effectively in charge of the coastal territory. And France President François Hollande is insisting that the controversial labor reform will not be withdrawn even as strike action looms on the railways. According to an announcement by the state rail company, a national railway strike is due to get underway in France on Wednesday. The Paris Metro is also due to go on strike from Thursday, and Air France pilots have also voted to strike for at least 6 days in June in a separate dispute over productivity targets. The labor reform, which is aimed at making the labor market more flexible, was pushed through the lower house of parliament without a vote. Meanwhile, a new national day of action has been planned by unions for June 14 when the bill goes to the Senate. And in sports,
our style, and that's what he delivered.
River State Governor Nyesom Wike has appointed former Super Eagles captain Joseph Yobo as a senior special assistant on sport development, and Chibuzo Aholu as the senior special assistant on financial matters. The appointments, according to a statement issued on Tuesday in Port Harcourt by the governor's special assistant on electronic media, Simeon Nwakudu, takes immediate effect from today. Joseph Yobo was the captain of Super Eagles and retired in June 2014. Atletico Madrid right back Rio Fran has thanked the club's fans for the support he received following his penalty shootout miss in Saturday's Champions League final defeat by Real Madrid. The defender's effort rebounded off the post before Cristiano Ronaldo scored the winning sports kick to hand Real their 11th European Cup in Milan. Spain international Juan Fran was in tears and did not speak to the media after the match, but on Monday wrote a letter on the club's official website thanking them for their support. The loss was the club's 3rd defeat in an European club final and the 2nd in 3 years at the hands of Real Madrid. Meanwhile, the French police have extended Paris Saint-Germain-Ségue detention in Paris by 24 hours for further investigations. Aurier, who was initially arrested and placed in police custody on Monday morning after an incident in Paris, is set to spend another day in detention. The 23-year-old Ivory Coast international is alleged to have had an altercation with policemen. The incident occurred in the Champs-Élysées area in the early hours of Monday as Aurier left a nightclub, PSG. Officials say the club will wait for further information before making any comment. And that's a wrap on CoreTV Sports News. But before we go, a reminder of our top stories for tonight. From all of us here at CoreTV News, we want to say thank you so much for watching our primetime news. My name is Sarah Ayuku. Have a pleasant night.